Alright guys, welcome back to Dad's Kitchen. We haven't done one of these in a while. My wife got a new light, new setup, so hopefully we can get a little bit better angles on this. I want to know how many people know what this is. I know it looks like a leaf out of your backyard. People could, bypass it every day. For those of you who like down-home cooking, this right here is a collard green. Big leafy green. You want to make sure it's nice and firm. Feels kind of plasticky. You got to be careful with these whenever you cook them because they have a nice bitter taste to them, and it'll definitely make your palate, quench a little bit. I like to cut the stem right here off because that's where it holds most of the bitterness that's inside of it. So I will fold it in half like so, and then I just the big thick part is where I take it off. So I'll just sit it down here on my cutting board, do a nice quick slice, and it takes it right out. Alright, and then I'll chop it up, do a rough chop, and then they gotta make sure you wash them really, really well because they grow in the sand. So if you don't get that off, you'll get a nice gritty taste inside. So I've actually cut mine all up, and I have them all washed and rinsed and ready to go, and we're gonna get started. So, to go over the ingredients, I use Applewood smoked bacon. I use fresh garlic. I use andouille sausage, smoked andouille sausage. I've got diced yellow onions, about 28 ounces of chicken broth. I got an additional 4 cups of water that I'll add to it. I didn't have a chance to smoke anything, so normally I would take and I would smoke like a pork butt or something like that, and I would use that pork inside of the meat. So to compensate for that, I've got some Hickory liquid smoke right here. Now you got to be careful with this stuff because it's very potent. So if you put this into your food, you're going to get, you only need like a tablespoon, because if you add a bunch of it in there, it's going to overpower everything that's in your dish. The other key ingredient that I'm going to add to this is apple cider vinegar. Now you want to add about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar to the amount of greens that we're going to do, because that will help pull out that bitterness that's in those leaves. And as it cooks down, it'll actually end up pulling a lot of that out. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our area situated and moved around. We can get rid of this for right now. We're going to add about 2 tablespoons of oil, salad oil, to our pot. And then we're going to get that heated up. Now I got that on medium-high heat. We're going to let that just get nice and warm. Now the way we've went over in the past as to how we know when our grease is warm. How do we know when it's hot enough to start adding our ingredients to it? Well, it becomes like a shimmery, shiny inside the pan. And if you move the pan, it moves really quick. It's not a slow roll across the pan. It's going to move really fast. So it shouldn't take long, but it's only a couple tablespoons that we added to it. So while that's going, we're going to measure out our liquid smoke because we don't want to use too much of it. So I'm going to get a ramekin and a tablespoon, and we'll go from there. Like I said, I've been cooking for 20 years, and I still don't want to overdo it with these. I'm actually going to use a half a tablespoon. Because again, like I said, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to get it to where it's overpower the entire dish and then we don't taste anything but liquid smoke. Get rid of this. Our pot's nice and going. Next, we're going to add our bacon because we want to start rendering the fat out of this bacon. You'll hear that nice sizzle when it hits the pan. Make sure you spread it out. Move it around a little bit. And as it starts to cook, you're going to get where it starts to stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan. And we don't want it to stick. We want to keep it moving, keep it moving. Now as that fat renders and it gets more juice in there, then it won't stick as much. But at first, when you first put it in there, it's going to stick. So you're going to have to move it around and keep it moving until it starts to render that fat. So we're going to let that render for a few moments and we'll be right back. Alright everyone, we got our fat that's been rendered from our bacon. We are now going to add in our smoked andouille sausage. We're going to let that start to get a nice sear on it. Mix it all up. Now I crank that heat up to high, so I want to really get the nice sear on there. I'm also going to add in my yellow onion. So that is in there. And then I need my apple cider vinegar. Oop, I bumped the oven. Accidents happen. Now I'm going to add a capful, 2 capfuls of apple cider vinegar. And a dash just to be safe. I'm going to let that turn down a little bit. Put a lid on it. And we'll let that cook for a minute. Now as that cooks, it's going to bring out all those flavors together. It's going to bring that andouille sauces and it's going to bring out that bacon. It's going to give it a real strong pork flavor. Now once we've got a nice translucent look on our onions, we're going to add our garlic and our liquid smoke, which will, we're only going to let it become aromatic. So we're only going to let that cook for like a minute or two so it can just bring out those flavors. And then we'll start adding our liquids to it. So we'll be right back. Alright, let's go ahead and just check this and see where we're at. I can see the steam coming out the top of the lid. Oh yeah, you can really smell that pork starting to come through. You're also going to smell a little bit of the vinegar that's going through, and that's perfectly fine. Get a nice translucent color on our onions. Go ahead and take a look right there. Hopefully you can see. It's got a nice clear to the onions. I'll let this cook just a little bit longer. And again, if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe, tell your friends so we can get some more people on here. And if you have any ideas for things that you want to learn how to cook, or that you have a recipe for that you'd like me to check out or try, put it in the comments. Let me know what's going on. I am thankful for those of you who do participate, but I would like to see a lot more. So go ahead. So now we're going to add our garlic in there, about 2 tablespoons, and then I went with a half a tablespoon of the liquid smoke. So we're going to add that in there. And again, you only want to cook this long enough to where it releases the aromatics of the food. Like, you don't want to burn your garlic or overcook it. You just want to cook it long enough to where it brings out those flavors. You got to be real careful with the garlic because the garlic will burn. So if you feel more comfortable, if you got to walk away, you got something you got to do, turn this down a little bit. Turn your oven down to a medium and let it slowly blend in. A little bit of crunch for time, or if you got time to stand there in one spot, and watch it. This is definitely something you want to do. Now some people, they'll cook this in a slow cooker, which it'll come out good, it'll taste good, same ingredients, just put it all in there, let it slow cook for 8 to 10 hours. You can probably get away with less than that, probably 4 to 6 hours, I would say. I personally have not done it that way. I like to stand here and let the flavors blend together themselves. So this is how I do it. So now I'm going to add in my chicken stock. And I'm going to add this is the waiting period. So now we're going to sit here, we're going to put a dome on this, and we're going to let that sit there and heat. And we got to let that come to a nice rolling boil. So if you don't know the difference between your boils, you got your light boil, which is just kind of like a little like rumbling on top. You got a medium boil where it's like what you would see in like, you know, movies, and then you got a rolling boil, which is like what you'd see in like a cartoon. So it's like literally like bubbling all over, like being like a witch's brew or something like that. So, you know, we want to get it to a nice rolling boil because we want, when we add our greens to it, we want it to, you know, kind of wilt the greens in there so it just cooks into that flavor and pulls it all out. So, again, if you like the video, if you like what we're talking about, you like what we're doing, you know, subscribe to it. I'm going to continue to be adamant about that because I don't know what you guys are thinking or if I should even be doing this. So I'm just throwing it out there. I've done this for 20 years and it's the only thing I know how to do, really. So figured I would share it with everybody else. And we'll be right back after this starts to boil. Alright, we got a nice rolling boil over here on the stove. So now what you're going to want to do is I'm going to grab my tongs and you're going to add in just a little bit at a time. You're going to let that wilt down. Cook these in. Now these are good by themselves. Nice filling meal, a little hot sauce. Or they go great with like blackened fish, crawdads, or, you know, steak. You know, it's a great side dish. You know, ribs, you know, for a barbecue. You know, you want to bring something new and different, you know, something that people will enjoy. Continue adding them. Let them wilt a little bit. Stir it up. Use your tongs. And then once we get all these in there, then we're going to cover them. And they need to cook for anywhere from a half an hour to 2 hours. You could also, like I said, I like to use smoked pork butt. I like to use ham hocks. Ham hocks work great. You know, and some people will be like, you know, I really don't like greens. You know, it's not my cup of tea. Well, let me tell you, somebody who came from, you know, being a very picky eater to growing, you know, in this industry and, you know, learning different, you know, types of food, just because you had it one way does not mean that you won't ever like it. For one, your taste buds change. So I want to say it's every 3 years your taste buds are changing. So something that you used to not like, you might like now. Another thing is that just because one person made it one way doesn't mean that it's not good another way. You know, some people just put bacon. Some people just, you know, use a ham hock. Some people only cook a certain amount of time. Some people use mustard greens, which is, you know, very similar. It's like a cousin. I like that rich, smoky pork flavor in mine, so that's what I add in. You know, some people will even add in the hot sauce directly in. I have kids, so they don't like hot stuff, so I don't put it in there until afterwards. But I'll drizzle, you know, some Frank's Red Hot or some, you know, I'll make a red pepper buffalo, put that on top. It's actually very good. So we're going to let that cook for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so. Let that cook and break everything down, and then I'll show you what the outcome looks like. Alright guys, it's nice and done. We're going to scoop some of this out of here. I'm going to put it in a bowl and let you see what it looks like. Make sure we get a little bit of everything. So we've got nice greens. See how they darkened up? We've got the kielbasa, the bacon, or I'm sorry, not kielbasa, the andouille sausage. Sorry. I like cooking with kielbasa too. You know, the onions, man oh man are they good. So, got that rich pork flavor, got that smokiness in there. So good. Put it back in there because I'm not going to eat it right now. I'm going to go ahead and finish making the rest of dinner. and then I'll get everything ready for my family to eat and enjoy. But I hope you enjoy, and again, if you like what you see and you want to, you know, see something else, or you have an idea you want to share with me, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Talk to you later.